I have the pleasure of being joined today by Arnaud Vaissié, CEO of International SOS. International SOS is the global leader in health and security assistance services, helping organizations to plan for, to mitigate, and to respond to health and security risks. International SOS's story is a remarkable one of an industry pioneer, of many thousands of lives saved, and of extraordinary growth. It is also a story of friendship, because International SOS was founded in 1984 in Singapore and Jakarta by two childhood friends, Arnaud Vaissié and Dr. Pascal Rey-Herme. They believed that there was a need in many Asian markets for international standards of care for the expat community, and they founded the company. Back then, they started it with one clinic and one call center, and the company was called Asia Emergency Assistance. Today, the company is called International SOS. It operates in 90 countries with 27 assistance centers, more than 50 clinics, over 800 client sites, and close to 13,000 employees. It manages 9,000 calls a day and has been involved in helping people caught in some of the most urgent crises of the last decades, including the 2004 Boxing Day tsunami, the Ebola outbreak, and of course, COVID-19. International SOS serves the majority of Fortune 500 companies and generates about $1.7 billion in revenue. Now, Arnaud himself was born in Paris. He graduated from Sciences Po, one of France's most elite schools, and he began his career in financial services in France and in the US. He has been the CEO of International SOS since he co-founded it 40 years ago. He also managed over the years to give time and energy to other projects and organizations. In particular, Arnaud co-founded and co-chairs the think tank Cercle d'Outre-Manche. He is also a board member of Institut Montaigne, another well-known French think tank. He is the chairman of the France-Singapore Business Council and was for a long time the president of the Union of French Chambers of Commerce and Industry, which comprises 125 French Chambers of Commerce and Industry across 95 countries. He also managed to found 2 international schools in London. Arnaud, thank you for joining us, and a warm welcome to you.
Jean-François, thank you for having me.
Arnaud, let me start with a basic question. Your website describes International SOS as the pioneer and leader in international health and security risk management. That's not a very typical industry, so can you walk us through the major activities / business units that this involves?
The fundamental concept is to provide organizations and employees with full protection in terms of health and security threats around the world 24/7. So we protect employees of organizations, students of universities, civil servants of governments around the world.
Now, there's on one side a bit of an insurance aspect, but there's also a physical side. So give us an idea. So I understand the protect, but give us an idea of some of the activities that this involves.
So first of all, we are not an insurance company. Okay. We are a service company.
Okay.
And what it entails is really medical, an expertise in medicine, an expertise in security, and an expertise in logistics. So what we do is that for organizations, they subscribe to our services so as to access our assistance centers, which are located around the world, 28 of them around the world, and they can access those assistance centers 24/7. They access also the information, the content that we generate in order to inform them of all security and medical events happening in the world. Okay. At any one time. And they can access all our experts worldwide.
From a revenue point of view, it's largely a subscription business?
It is a subscription business. It's a SaaS business, if you will, which we created decades ago. And to this day, we have more than 10,000 clients paying this yearly subscription fee for their employees.
Now, is there like one or two major competitors against whom you're going head to head, or are different competitors involved in different segments? Because some of what you describe sounds like a healthcare business, and so I imagine there you're competing with local healthcare. So how do you think of your competition?
You're very right. I mean, our competition is very diverse. We don't have a like-for-like competitor.
Okay.
But what we have is by geo-markets and by vertical, so whether it's on the security, on the health side, or on geographies, local competitors which compete with us in one area of our work. Also now, there are a lot of technology-driven companies which are getting involved on the information production as well as the critical event management systems to be put in place. Would it be better to have one? I'm not sure. I think it is the advantage that we have, we are the leading provider in our field, that we have this global capability and this global reach that no one else has.
The scale sounds important in this industry.
So the scale is very important. I mean, we are managing 3 million cases a year, so it's a very, very large number. And as far as the competition is concerned, I mean, of course, you want to beat your competitors. Business is a competition. And we are very keen on learning the trends because the competition is also pushing us. The clients push us, the competition is pushing us. And I believe we are pushing as well our competitors.
Now that we understand where you play, let's dig a bit deeper. International SOS started with you and your co-founder over a dining room table, meaning from scratch and very modestly. Today, International SOS is the leader in your field, employing over 12,000 people and generating a little bit less than $2 billion in revenues. So I want to understand how we went from A to B.
So at the inception of the company, it's really two friends. My childhood friend, Dr. Rey-Herme, we met when we were 4, the two of us, and we went to school together. We were at the lycée together in Paris. And he went into studying medicine. I went into studying politics and business. So, but eventually, he had the vision of this healthcare business, since we started on the healthcare side before adding up security. Healthcare business, which would provide services in between the hospital and a private practice. And happened to be in Asia, because he had been posted in Asia by the French government. So we didn't start in a garage, but it was not very different. And the big difference in between starting a business then, more than 3 decades ago, and today, is that at the time you were starting a business with little money. Today you can, if the idea looks interesting,
get funding.
You can get funding very quickly. The disadvantage, or the comparative advantage that we benefited from, is that we still control the company to this day, because we did it with our own capital, and we grew, for the most part, internally.
How challenging was it?
We started with $100,000, which at the time was a significant amount, not a very large amount, but nevertheless enough to carry you through at least a year. The business really developed quickly. What is complicated for a business to grow from a startup to a medium-sized company to a larger group is not to sell, because you're continuously approached on selling.
Okay.
Actually, I was even approached month 1 by someone who has become a very good friend of mine, an American insurance executive, a very senior executive, who called me and said, I want to buy your business, a month into the startup. And I answered with quite a great deal of satisfaction, I would love to sell it to you, but there is nothing to sell.
Understood. So the company developed, I think, largely through you following your clients geographically, but also in terms of unmet needs. First of all, is that a fair statement? And if so, can you give us a few examples?
Well, from a geographical standpoint, because we started in Singapore and Indonesia at the same time, we really did, from a European perspective or from a French perspective, we grew with a worldwide tour, but upside down. So we grew from Southeast Asia all the way through to China. And we were the assistance company for the Olympics in China in 2008, which is a big moment for Asia and for China. Then we grew very quickly in the US, which is today our largest market by a long way. and then Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So around the world too. And today we are operating in 82 countries, and we have a network everywhere. From a product perspective, it's the approach has been somewhat similar.
But is it fair to say that today you cover more risks, events, aspects than before, or were you immediately with this portfolio of services?
No. Of course, we grew with our clients.
Okay.
Our clients are, many of them are very large multinationals or governments. And so it is in the continuous interaction with clients where we offer innovation. They also are asking and
Right. Could you do this? We have nobody to help us with this.
yes, or we would like this to be possible.
Right.
So it's a continuous evolution. And clearly the services we offer have evolved massively over time. First of all, we added security after 9/11, because now we feel that in the world of mobility, you need to protect people both from a health perspective, but also from a security standpoint. But also now we are very, very present, for example, on workforce resilience programs for our clients.
Right.
In this poly-crisis world, where crises are succeeding, superposing one on each other, and we are involved in every single crisis which happens around the world, whether it is Haiti, whether it is Ukraine, Gaza, the Sudan, or any major event happening, we are involved.
So on one side, I get the point of course, following one's clients and also addressing unmet needs for these clients. The danger, of course, is that this might lead you to enter into areas where you don't particularly have a competitive advantage. How did you manage this balance?
It's a very, very good point. To us, the competitive advantage, the way we look at the market, is that we see a competitive advantage so long as it is cross-cultural, cross-border. We are the best ones, I believe, at providing cross-border services. We are not going to be the best one to provide healthcare services on a mass market in one given country. It is the cross-border option where we know how to provide services to people involved in a multitude of markets. The second one is what we call the boots on the ground. So the need for local capabilities. We are able to operate effectively pretty much everywhere because we have these local resources directly in the 82 countries in which we operate through our network of providers, right, because we are continuously calling on them to manage the 3 million cases we have. So those are the two key ingredients that we look at when we create products.
International, cross borders, and boots on the ground.
Yep.
Now, in various articles, you have emphasized the importance of resilience, the capacity for an organization to not be set back by challenges and to thrive in various kinds of circumstances. Where does International SOS's resilience come from, and how did you make the organization resilient, and how do you make sure that it keeps this resilience?
Resilience is very critical because business is made of ups and downs. We always look at the stories of companies which go from grow
linearly
in a straight way. This is not the story of business. The story of business is that you have changes. And we've gone through a number of crises during the evolution of the company. One which is little known in Europe is the Asian crisis.
Right.
In 97, 98, which ended up with a complete freeze of all financing activities for 1 year in Asia in 98. At the time, the company was growing extremely rapidly, and we went into a very serious cash squeeze because we could not access new working capital, whereas the company was growing very fast. Eventually, we were helped by JP Morgan, and we refinanced ourselves on the US market. Which is more innovative and was seeing things very differently from the European or the Asian market. Or COVID. I mean, we were and we are the world leader in mobility. COVID, there is no more mobility.
Right.
So suddenly you wake up in the morning and you say, well, let's look at it and see what we can do. Eventually, we became, I think, one of the key providers to help companies manage the COVID epidemic. But we had to pivot in terms of services very quickly. So resilience is, I think, all about being able to be very agile, not to panic, to absorb stress. And I think that the job of the CEO in particular is to be a stress absorber.
Okay.
Because if you need to diffuse, if you will, anxiety and ensure that you're going to show a road which is going to be successful. People want to be reassured all the time. And so it's resilience is, to me, a critical quality. In our field, we work with a lot of physicians. We have 1,400 physicians on staff or full-time on our payroll. And physicians are very resilient. I would say that it's very much the fabric of their profession. So are security professionals. I mean, they have to be calm and being able to conduct their business no matter what. So I think as a company, we tend to be long-term driven. And
so that helps because it means you can invest in tough times?
Yes, I mean, during COVID, for example, we did not let people go, whereas if we had been a public company, we certainly would have done so, whereas the experts we have are irreplaceable because they are not easily found in the market.
So I get we have employees who by nature are relatively resilient. I get you have to be calm at the top. But it's not only that, you also developed through these crises a number of new products and services that requires a certain amount of agility. Where did this agility come from? How have you kept it as you became a much bigger company?
Well, it's a struggle, let's put it this way.
Okay.
You were talking of competitors at the beginning, and clearly the strength of a small competitor is that the agility is extraordinary when you're very small. So the whole point is to stay agile enough,
okay,
so that we use the scale that we have to develop new products and services and keep innovating. So what do? We are trying to isolate a number of units where they can develop new products. For example, here in Switzerland, it is this workforce resilience programs that we are pushing and promoting, which have been very successful, and that now we are trying to spread all around the world to most of our clients, and it's very successful. In Asia, we have an innovation lab where we are launching new digitally driven innovations in healthcare. AI is also, to me, something that I do not centralize, that I want to be in every single business division. We have 4 key business units, and at local unit level. So as to have a bottom-up approach and the center only controlling the data privacy, the cyber issues, I mean, what would put the company at risk. But this has to be bottom-up. So we are trying to keep innovation at local level.
You also have this central innovation, I heard, in Asia. But indeed, I got this, it's local entrepreneurial, but then you said we scale up. Is this something that you're particularly good at? Because a number of organizations manage to be both innovators and then late adopters, because they innovate, but then they can scale. It seems that you guys can scale.
Well, I wouldn't say that we are perfect at everything we do, far from it. So I want to be very, CEOs tend to be the last ones to be aware of their lack of scalability or understanding the issues. But we are made of a number of small units.
Okay.
Because we are in so many countries, most of our country operations are actually medium-sized businesses or small businesses. And so therefore they keep this entrepreneurial spirit because they are relatively small. globally, we've become a large company. But individually, every business unit is of a size where innovation is still relatively easy to develop. Now, how do we scale? I think we have a reasonably strong corporate office where we are trying to push and promote an idea from one country or one business unit to the rest of the world. And this corporate office is very diverse. It's everywhere around the world, in Singapore.
Okay. So it's not one single office. No. It's a distributed corporate office.
It's a distributed corporate office between, we have people in Geneva, we have people in London and Paris for Europe, we have people in Australia, in Singapore, Dubai, and the US. So it's a very distributed corporate office. And I think the job of the corporate office is not to manage the business unit. It is to redistribute everything which is happening inside our own network and push it, or what we understand from clients in the market.
So I get this. We are, in a way, a federation of many SMEs, but you also need to be a super coordinated and collaborative federation, because if I'm a client in country A, and I have one of my individuals in country B, you want country B to collaborate and to do what's necessary.
Yeah, I want country B to follow exactly the same protocols as country A.
Okay.
And this is actually the challenge in our industry, in our business. And maybe the reason why we are the leader today is that we are at the same time a large number of small or medium-sized units.
Right.
The service we offer is integrated. So the interdependency of one unit versus the other is very strong.
Okay.
And this is much more complicated to manage than having a single unit with a head and go at the market. You're good, you succeed. You're not good, you're replaced. There you need to be at the same time good in your market, but very good at cooperating with the rest of the organization.
What I'm hearing is clear roles and responsibilities in order for, and you also mentioned like standard operating procedures.
Very much so, and IT systems, complete.
So it's an interesting mix of, on one side, we want entrepreneurial spirit, but we also have clear roles and responsibilities, clear standard operating procedures, a shared IT. It sounds like an interesting mix of freedom, but also strong framing. Is that fair?
It is very fair. It's also linked to what we do. We don't have room for error,
right?
Because the potential impact of a mistake is huge in our field. Whether it is the phone's not responding, whether it is a staff refusing to provide the service, or a mistake in the direct provision of the service. So we need very, very strict protocols. And by the way, AI is now helping us on those protocols so that we can have those protocols being pushed to our operators so as to make their life much easier, so that they understand the protocol of company A versus the protocol of company B, and the process that we want them to follow. So we need these very strong protocols. So on the delivery, innovation is control.
Okay.
It is on the product side. So what do we want to offer our clients? Or for example, on the software side, we created a long time ago the largest software worldwide to manage travel management. So it's to have, we had more than 20 million travelers on our software, so as to know at any one time where they are, send them information, and being able to call on them and help them during their movements. There, a lot of innovation is involved. So innovation is there.
So that's a very fascinating point. I was recently discussing with the head of an airport, and the head of an airport has also this high reliability nature that you were just mentioning. But an airport also has a number of stores. And the head of this airport was saying, look, we are a little bit struck by the generalization of this reliability obligation across everything we do. But changing a store from a shoe store to a juice store should not be that complicated. And so it sounds like you are managing an organization where the attitude to risk, the attitude to innovation, the time horizon differs significantly across the different parts, but somehow you're managing to keep them all focused on the right time horizon and the right attitude to risk.
I hope you're entirely right.
Largely.
But this is the intent, that's for sure. This is exactly the intent. The intent is to have close to 100% reliability on the service offering. So we need to be very rigid there. But at the same time, in the service industry, in particular when you work with large clients, the needs evolve at an extraordinary speed, and it's accelerating due to technology. So you have to modify the service offering all the time.
I find this combination of centralization and decentralization really, really interesting. Maybe one last question on this. I know that there is a strong sense of corporate purpose within International SOS. To what extent do you think it is contributing to holding this federation together and to making sure that people indeed follow the standard operating procedures and so on?
I think it's fundamental. First of all, I believe that company's culture, to any company, the company culture is fundamental. In our case, the mission is the company culture. The mission is to protect and preserve life. And it's a fantastically motivating mission. And of course, we are insisting on it, and we are communicating on it. So yes, this is the cement of the company. This is what is driving people to, I would say, go for the extra mile. And this is also what is keeping people inside the organization. I mean, we have a very low turnover because the mission is unique and is very much in line with today's world, where I would say that young people in particular are even more mission-driven than we were when we started work, or when I started work.
Now, as you know, Arnaud, I'm a leadership professor. I have to ask you a few more personal questions. One of them is your personal trajectory has been very interesting. You started in finance, and of course, you've devoted the last almost 40 years of your life saving lives. Now, I was struck by the fact that your father was a surgeon, and I was just wondering to what extent you're growing up in an environment with someone who is literally holding people's life in his hands. To what extent this influenced your later trajectory?
Very much so, and I always believed when I was young that I would become a physician. And then I realized that I didn't like medicine, and I could not become a physician because it was really not what I liked. But that was my idea to go into medicine. Okay. So yes, of course, it's a very, very strong influence. And I would say the ethics of that I've witnessed all my youth are the background for the way Pascal and I have organized the company. So yes, it's tremendous importance.
Interesting. Now, at the heart of your company's success is your partnership with your co-founder and lifelong friend, which you've already mentioned. Now, tell us how you've managed to keep the friendship. I understand the complementarity between the two of you, and so clearly this has influenced the development of the company. But not easy to maintain friendship over 40 years. In fact, in your case, over longer, because you met when you were 4, in an environment where, again, there could be tensions between those parts of the business.
Yes, you're right, but I think we see so many companies and so many startups failing because the key partners don't get along.
Right.
So I've seen it time and again on so many occasions. The second aspect is that I believe, and I'm very in great admiration of people who start a company on one's own, because the stress level is huge, and you don't have anyone to really deal with it. So I think the ideal situation is what we've witnessed, which is to start a company with two partners. In our case, it was easy, A, because we knew each other very, very well and we liked each other, but B, we had different skill sets.
Okay.
I'm a manager, I'm a finance guy, he's a physician, and we created this line at the very beginning where everything is medical is him, everything which is, and professional services is him, everything which is management is me, and we've stuck to it very, very closely, and even to this day. So I think the trust level has been very high, and we've gone through divergence of opinion, but no crisis.
No crisis in
No
40
crisis.
years.
No crisis. No.
Now, you have been leading this organization for almost 40 years. This is a huge investment in all currencies, time, energy, money. One question, no lassitude, no desire to move on to another project?
Actually, I was with a good friend of mine recently in the US, who is the CEO of a very large organization. My age, pretty much the same kind of experience. I was asking him, so do you have enough? And he said, absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. I intend to carry on. I really like what we are doing. I think it is changing continuously. It's changing at such a pace that the feeling that you've got to keep moving on is critical. So I like the business as much today as I liked it at the beginning. However, what I see as my responsibility is now to prepare the succession, to prepare a new generation of leaders, and to ensure that we, if anything does happen, and in any event when time is right, we'll have the right people to keep the company independent. And I think we have the size and the reach to do so, and to be even more successful in the future. So it's a combination of keen interest in what we are doing, but at the same time, accepting that time is going by.
And so one of the questions I wrote down is CEO succession. Is it a topic? What you're saying is it is indeed somewhere on your mind, making sure that there is a next generation of leaders.
Yes, I mean, CEO succession is the most important thing in the future of a business. It's, as you know, extremely complicated, and also even maybe more so for us because we are one of a kind. So we cannot go into the industry and approach people with who are leading other entities in our industry. So we really need to find people who understand what we do from within or externally, and but they have to be groomed inside the company. We are such a specific company with a unique set of services and this global reach, which is a bit, I would say we might be the most international company for a company of our size, which is a bit of a challenge. So CEO succession is something that I have in mind all the time.
But it also sounds like this is not because one of the reasons why, of course, it's often complicated is because with the front of the mind, founder CEOs say that they want their successor to be successful, but with the back of the mind, you know, they often would prefer their successors to not be so successful, so that, you know, basically, so how do you manage this?
I used to be the president of the French Chambers of Commerce. When I left, I really left my successor totally free, and I didn't interfere 1 second. So I feel that the day I have to go, I will have to go. It's a bit different. This company, we still control the company to this day.
Right.
So
you have a strong
financial interest,
an
aligned interest, and also the people who work in this company, I know most of them, and I want them to be successful. Okay. So I see my responsibility in trying my best to find the right individual.
Understood. Now, I've been the president of IMD for 8 years, and once in a while, which is less than 40, and once in a while, I start detecting in me a slight tendency on occasion to think I know better. Is that a temptation or a drift that you've been able to manage to, because you probably know better on most things, but how do you keep that in check?
No, it's I think an important point, and also because the French management style is not very strong on delegation. It's the exact opposite of the English management style, which is all about delegation. Maybe the truth is in between. By definition, you know better because you've known the history, right. And so you know every single screw which is in the system. At the same time, it is also clear that business evolution acceleration is such that you're not connected, I'm not connected as well with today's evolution as I might have been right. years ago, and I accept it. So I think the idea is what we've done there is to create these business units and to give to the CEOs of these business units a very strong responsibility, whereas before it was geo-markets, and the geo-markets were reporting into the corporate office. So we had more direct control over the various units. Now the business units have a worldwide responsibility, and so the heads of the business units really drive their business.
You must be an impressive presence for your teams, right? You co-founded this business and you're incredibly successful. How do you reduce the likelihood that they will under-challenge you and possibly hide stuff from you?
Yes, I mean, again, CEOs think that I always hear no politics in my company. Of course, there are politics in any organization. And getting to the truth is the most complex aspect for all of us, for anyone on top of an organization. Right. People don't like to carry bad news, and I've been...
But you're even more than that, Arnaud, right? You're not only the CEO, you're also the co-founder, you know, the father of this organization. So sometimes even not for politics, but just to protect you or not to offend you, or, you know, my sense is I know a few of the folk that work for you, they like you a lot, right? And so how do you make sure that this doesn't get to a point where they under-challenge you?
I'm sure they do. I'm always saying that I look at 4 qualities in any manager that I'm recruiting. The first one, and there is no order of priority. The first one, to understand commerce.
Okay.
So to have a feeling for a client, for a product, for a service. The second one is to be organized. Because if one is not organized, it's much more complicated to function. The third one is to be good with people. And so recruit, retain, motivate. The fourth one, which is the rarest of all, is courage. And courage is exactly what you mentioned, the courage of saying what you think.
You remind me of a discussion I had a long time ago with someone who at the time was the head of Asia, who said, I recruit people for whom the work is more important than their career. They care more about the work than they care about their career progression. I also get this sense in you of the focus on the work and then the courage of speaking up. Now, you've been a super busy entrepreneur, but somehow you've also been very active in extracurricular activities outside of International SOS. You founded 2 schools in London. You're a member of the board of the Institut Montaigne. You headed the International Chamber of Commerce, which is gathering like more than 120 chambers of commerce. You've also had a family life. How did you find the time to do all of this?
From the very beginning, I mean, I studied at the Institute of Political Studies in Paris, so I like politics and I like the life of the city, if you will. And so from the very first day, I've always spent a day a week on non-business related issues.
Okay.
Whether it was Alliance Française in the past, or the Chambers of Commerce, or creating schools, or being on boards of schools. And to me, it's critical because it is the way of meeting different people, a different set of people, not related to your business environment. And so I've always believed in the fact that working for charities, for associations is very rewarding. And lastly, I love politics and have been involved in politics a great deal without being in directly in the election world.
So you say, look, this is what I studied it for a reason, I care for it, I enjoy it. 1 day a week, is that 1 day out of 5 or 1 day out of 7?
At least 1 day out of 6, let's put it this way.
But this must have required, you mentioned earlier organization, you said quality number 2, organization. Are you a very organized person?
I'm not sure. I think I'm very thorough. I'm not sure that I'm perfectly organized, but reasonably so.
Now, one of the things that your organization does is of course manage crises and handle people in super difficult situations. So in many ways, this business operates 24/365 and often in difficult situations. And that's gotta be stressful and demanding. How have you managed over the years, and how do you manage now the stresses, the demands? How do you maintain yourself at peak performance? Are there some rituals or some things? So you already said 1 day a week on other things. Anything else that helps you to stay at peak performance?
Of course, family life, the critical, and certainly for me, it's absolutely fundamental. But I would say a lot of sports, whether it is tennis or swimming or skiing. I mean, I really like rugby is no longer the issue, to me, unfortunately. So sports is, and I love reading. I mean, it's I can read a book a week. It's absolutely fundamental to me.
And I guess these think tanks that you're a part of are also probably, as you said, quite energizing in themselves.
Absolutely. I've created a think tank in the UK, which is called the Cercle d'Outre-Manche, right. And this again, you're trying to think of today's problems, which are, as we know, very, very many, and also International SOS is continuously taken into it, because we are involved in the Gaza war, we're involved in the Ukraine, we're involved in Haiti. Wherever there is a crisis, our guys are involved, and we deal with our clients, and we try to, and I think quite often we do manage to get them out or to help them go through the crisis. So I think having this balanced life, but it's true that it's a life which is centered a great deal around business and sports and reading.
But as I'm hearing you, suddenly I realize, is there also an advantage in terms of creating a network through these think tanks? Because when you mention these crises and so on, you probably once in a while have to call someone.
Yes, I mean, we all know that when you can call on someone directly, you in 3 minutes have more info than reading an entire book. It's quite fascinating.
So there's a bit of synergy there.
Great synergy. If being able to call on people who you trust is an extraordinary gain of time, and also help you think.
Understood. Last question, Arnaud. You've already answered it a bit, but let me ask. You love your job because?
Because we deal with, I think, important issues. We deal with lives, and it attracts fantastic professionals. So you have smart and interesting people, and we deal with a fascinating mission.
Thank you very much. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for your candor, and best wishes of continued success with International SOS and beyond.
Thank you so much, Jean-François.